In this video, we'll be hunting a box of nickels. We'll be looking for anything older than 1960, including Civil War nickels, Buffalo nickels, or anything older. We'll also be looking for any foreigns, proofs, air reserve varieties, or any other cool things we can find. And we do have one ender in this box, and it's actually this really corroded one right here. It's actually a 1948, so hopefully that's a good sign. Let's start the hunt, and I'll bring you in whenever we have our first find. Just opened the first roll, and looks like we're already out 4 cents because it looks like we have a penny in the roll. And we do. Just a memorial. Just a 1985 D-Zinc penny. That's unfortunate. Roll 2, and we have the first real find of the box, and it is in 1941 from Philly. Roll 3 had a couple finds from the 50s that were actually right next to each other in the roll. First is a 1953 out of San Francisco and a 1959 from Denver. Roll 8, another nickel from the 50s, and this one is a 1954 out of Denver. Roll number 9, hunting through the roll, and I just uncovered a 1939. If it has a mint mark, it's a key date. It's in pretty good shape, so hopefully it does, and even if it's a Philly, we can check it for the DDR. And it's unfortunately a Philly, no mint marks, not a key date, and it doesn't look like the DDR, but still, 1939, that's a great find. Roll 11 was that 1948 ender that is really corroded, and it is from Denver. Roll 14, another find from the 40s, and this one is 1940, minted in Philly. Next roll, another 40s nickel, and this one is 1941 from San Francisco. Roll 18 had a few older finds. First, a 1940 from Philly, a 1941 Denver, and a 1959 that's also from Denver. Next roll, another 50s nickel, and this one is 1957 from Denver. Roll 22, we have our next find, and it is a pretty slick 1949 from Denver. Roll 24, yet another find from the 40s, and this one is another 1941 Philly. Roll 27, a couple finds from the late 50s, 1958 and 1959, both from Denver. Roll 29, and we have 1956 out of Philly in decent shape. Roll 32, a couple more 50s nickels. First is a 1952 from Denver in pretty good shape, and 1955 from Denver as well. Roll 34, a couple more finds. First, a 1948 Denver and 1956 Philly. Roll 38, and we had another ender. I already pulled these out of the roll. 1953 D and 1954 also from Denver, but look at what the ender was. We have a clipped planchet at the top of the reverse. You can see right there that it's clipped and 180 degrees opposite of the coin. It's a little bit of a weaker strike on the rim. It has a Denver mint mark, and it's a 1964 D clip planchet. Unfortunately, it does have the ring of death from being an ender, but still, clip planchet air, that is an amazing find. Roll 40, another find from the 50s, and it is another 1957 Denver. Roll 41, and we have yet another 1940 Philadelphia. Next roll, another find from the 40s, and this one is a 1941 San Francisco. Roll 44, just opened the roll, and we're going to have the first foreign of the hunt. Probably going to be a Canadian nickel, which it is, and it is a 1984. Roll 46, and we have yet another 1941 Philly. Roll 48, and before I flipped it over, I didn't even notice that it had a mint mark, but it does have an S mint mark right there. A lot of gunk on the back. Flipped it over. That's a 1938S. That is a key date nickel, 1938S, even though it's in pretty bad shape, pretty slick with a lot of gunk on it. It's still an amazing find. That was it for the first box. I am going to add another box on this video since this first box didn't have any silver buffaloes, but it was still a pretty good box. We got a lot of older Jeffersons, including that 1938S key date, even though it's in pretty rough shape. Still an awesome find. We got a penny in the first roll. Don't get pennies and nickel rolls too often, but we did lose 4 cents on that one. We got 1 Canadian, 1 2009, and that 1964D Clip Planchet that was an ender. Pretty good first box. Now let's go on a second box. I don't believe there are any enders, and I'll bring you in whenever we have a find. Roll 2, and we have the first find of the second box, and it's really beat up, but it is 1956 out of Philly. Next roll, another find from the 50s. This one is 1954 Denver. Roll 7, and we have another find from the 30s. It was reverse facing when I found it. It's a 1939, so I already knew it was a Philly, and it's not the DDR, but still, another 30s nickel. Great find. Roll 9 had a few more older finds. First, a 1941 San Francisco, and then a pretty beat up 1948 Denver, and a 1954 that's also from Denver. Roll 15, another 50s nickel, and this one is another 1954 Denver. Roll 17, and we have another find, but it's just 1959 minted in Denver. Roll 22, and we finally have another find for box 2, and it is just another 1941 Philly. Roll 24, another find from the 40s. This one is 1940 San Francisco. Roll 25, halfway point of box 2, had a couple more finds. 1940 out of Philly, and 1953, that's also from Philly. Roll 29, and we're going to have a silver. I did miss it by the edge. It's only a few coins into the roll. It's only slightly different by the edge, but right there, that's a 1943, 35% silver war nickel. Let's see what mint it is. And it's a Philly. That's pretty much the war nickel I see most often, 1943P. Or a couple varieties I'll check for. Doesn't look like it from first glance, but still, silver in the box. That's a great find. Roll 33, only 4 rolls after that last silver. And we have another one. One away from being an ender. Slid the first coin down. See an S mint mark on the reverse. Let's see the year. 1942S. I don't get many 1942 silvers, but that is another 35% silver war nickel. That is an awesome find. Next roll, roll 34, another 50s nickel. This one is 1957 Philly. Roll 37, and we have the first nickel from 1946 of the hunt, and it is out of Philly. Roll 40, another find from the 50s. This one is a really nice 1954 San Francisco. Roll 42, another 50s find. This one is another 1954 Denver. Roll 45, and we have another 1959 minted in Denver. Roll 46, and we have a first-year Jefferson. It's a 1938, but when I found it, it was reverse facing. It doesn't have a mint mark, so it's not a key date, but I don't get very many 1938s. And this one's in pretty decent shape, other than a little bit of rim damage. That is a great find. Roll 48, another find from the 50s. This one is another 1957 Denver. Second box has been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We ended up with 22 estimates, only 1 foreign, a 1984 Canadian, and 1 2009. We got that penny in the first roll of the first box. We lost 4 cents, but that's alright. Don't get too many of those. Then we had that 1964D clipped planchet ender in the first box. That was an awesome find. Probably only worth about $1 or something, but still, don't get very many mint errors, let alone clipped planchets. Older Jeffersons, we got a lot for the 2 boxes. Surprisingly, we got quite a few estimates as well. And we had 4 from the 30s, 2 1939 Phillies, 1 first-year 1938 Philly, and a key date 1938S, even though it's in rough shape, still an awesome find. And then the best finds for the 2 boxes were the 2 silvers, both out of box 2. First, the 1942 San Francisco, and 1943 out of Philly. 2 silvers and 2 boxes, that's pretty good, as well as a lot of other good finds. This was an awesome nickel hunt.